Remember how I said that after Curious Village, the Layton games only got better and better, resulting in a consequence of Curious Village probably not being that good of an introduction to the series anymore? Well, if you want a good but proper introduction to the characters in the world of Professor Layton, The Last Specter is quite possibly your best bet. After the first trilogy was completed, Level 5 decided to base their next slew of games not only to be set 3 years before the Curious Village, but to serve as the story of how Luke and Layton first met. Before gaining his reputation for solving the world's greatest puzzles, Professor Herschel Layton was a young, gifted archaeology professor who was always hard at work to keep up with his superiors. But after receiving a letter one day, he finds not only is an old friend of his in trouble, but with all the work he has to juggle, he's been given an assistant in the form of a tough, cheerful young woman named Emmy Altava. You see, Layton's friend, named Clark it turns out, became the mayor of a town called Mist-Hallery, but something has been going on a rampage, destroying the buildings in the middle of the night. Clark's son, who turns out to be Luke, claims the thing behind the destruction is a monster from an old fairy tale. His father dismisses the idea, but they start to find that Luke might not be too far from the truth. So the race is on to find and capture this beast before the town is completely turned to dust. Aside from starting at the beginning of Layton and Luke's adventure, I think this is a better start than Curious Village for 3 reasons. One, at least from an aesthetic point of view, is a better atmosphere. Mist-Hallery, as its name suggests, is a town that is constantly covered in mist and built on canals. Because it's surrounded by water, the area you explore is just this lush green and sometimes kind of gloomy town. Thus it's a lot more fun to look at. 2. They've improved their side characters. And I don't mean characters you see in just one game, I mean characters you continue to see through the series. Before, the game seemed to just center on Layton and Luke themselves, with some characters getting a little face and others not getting enough. But this game throws in 3 more characters to better complement the duo. Chelmy, who, when you get down to it, was just a Lestrade knockoff with not a lot to offer like Layton and Luke, has been replaced by this crazed, fiery, workaholic inspector named Grosky. This is probably the funniest character I've seen in this franchise. I don't know where he got this insane passion for his work, and I don't care. I just enjoy how upbeat he is. I enjoy how freakishly gung-ho he is. How gullible he is. The fact he would outrun cars and buses because he loves his work. He's just a fun character. Layton's assistant, Emmy, is another fun character. Like Flora, Emmy is someone who insists on accompanying the professor out of gratitude and adoration. But not in a romantic way. In fact, that's probably the furthest thing from Emmy's mind. Like Grosky, Emmy is someone who just takes immense pride in her work and also greatly respects the professor. And working with the professor allows her to show just how determined and capable she is to get him through or even out of trouble. This is the kind of character I thought could have possibly been done for Flora. I mean, Flora obviously doesn't need incredible fighting skills like Emmy to be capable, but for the most part, this is the kind of determination I expected her to have. Like Anna or Winry or even Mrs. Brisby. The professor and Luke were Flora's only family and friends, and wanting to make sure they would come back to her is very understandable, and she doesn't have to do so through physical means. Though having her as a cube bruiser would have been hilarious. But probably one of the most popular newcomers is the newest bad guy this series introduced. This is Jean Descalais, an evil scientist voiced by Tim Curry. No, I'm serious, that's Tim frickin' Curry. I know a lot of people are saying it was Jonathan Keeble who played them, but in the games, it's Tim frickin' Curry. I'm actually kind of surprised a lot of people don't notice that.
But just as I cracked the code, the one person who knew a song of the sea, the other key I needed, could no longer sing it.
I have been waiting patiently for the perfect moment to make my grand entrance. The final act belongs to me.
And I have to admit though, I didn't quite see the hype behind him at first. I mean, apart from just having a nicer and cooler design than Don Palo, I didn't get a lot of character from Descalais when I first played this. More than Don Palo, but he just seemed like a typical wicked cultured baddie. But when I thought about it, there was something about his vagueness that made him kind of alluring. You were told that this guy has a past with Layton, and you want to know exactly what it is. Don Palo's vendetta was played more for laughs, but Descalais seemed a bit more devious, as well as more competent, so the threat is more bigger too. And thankfully he does get some good distinguishable traits later on in the series, so he managed to dodge a bullet for me. And I know, listing them off like that, they just sound like they were recycled from the old characters, but they didn't just recycle them, they improved them. Layton and Luke aren't the only pedestals now, we genuinely have a stronger cast for the series, as opposed to the first three. Speaking of third, this isn't just a series of random mysteries, this is an arc. Without giving too much away, this game is the first in some major build-up for the final story, the Azran Legacies, and from what I heard of it, it really pays off. That aside, how does the actual mystery in this game work out? Well, while it is better and more engaging than Curious Village, I wouldn't say it's one of the strongest in the series. I mean, they have nice ideas, but some of them seem a little cluttered and awkwardly placed. And oftentimes, it's really not that hard to tell who is going to be the bad guy. One of them does a full-out evil laugh, and he sadly doesn't really turn out to be that interesting of a character. Think of Pete minus the comedy and Jim Cummings. The puzzles are the same old. They usually add something new to them with each new release, but they're pretty much untouched here. Though I can understand if that can get a little difficult to do. And even though, they're still good. Good, but not great. Though, keeping in with the mindset of this being the first game in the series to play, I guess that's not so bad. And it's still neat to see where it all began. Layton meeting his traveling buddies, seeing Luke's family and home, getting an actual devious villain as opposed to a comic foil and other characters you sometimes forget about. I truly believe this is a genuine good start for playing the Professor Layton series. If you're wondering where to begin, this is your pick. Check it out and enjoy.
So, nerd, I hear you want to be a big ladies' man.